the invocation prayers.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Urvamulamadaha Shakam Ashvatam Prahuravyayan Chandam Shri Yasya Paranani Yastam Veda Savedave.
Sridham, please go ahead.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has its..." Oh, sorry, I read the wrong verse.
Yash, go ahead. Second verse.
Adashtrodvam prasritastasya shaka guna praveda vishaya pravalaha adashtamula santatani karmanubandheni manushya loke.
The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree also has its roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society.
Na rupamasya hatato palabhyate nanto nachadir nacha sampratishta ashvatamenam suvirudamulam asanga sastrena hridena chitva tataha padam tapadi margitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyaha tam eva chadyam purusham prapadye yataha pravreti prashrita purani.
Sridham, please recite the English.
Sorry, I was on mute. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. With determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything is extended since time immemorial.
Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivrita kamaha dvandver vimukta shikaduka samagner gachanti yamudaha padam avyayam tat.
Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness, and who understand those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom.
Nirmana, na tadvasayate suryo na shashanka na pavakaha yadgatva na nivartante taddama paramam mama.
That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world.
Mamevamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manaha sasta indriyani prakriti stani karshati.
The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind.
Shariram yadavatnoti yachapi utkrapmatishvaraha Grihitvaitani Bisamyati Vayurgandhani Vashaya.
The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another.
Shrotam Chakshuhu Sparshanam Cha Rasanam Granameva Cha Adishtaya Manashtayam Vishayan Upasevate.
The living entity is thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of air, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity, Yash.
Utkramantam Sitam Vapi Bunjanam Vagunavitam Vimudananu Pashyanti Gyana Chakshushaha.
The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body enjoys under the spell of modes of nature. The one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this.
Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatanto pi akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasaha.
The endeavoring transcendentalists, who are situated in self-realization, can see all this clearly, but those whose minds are not developed, who are not situated in self-realization, cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to.
Yadidityagitam tejo jagadvasayate kilam yat chandram si yat chagno tat tejo vidimamakam.
The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me. The splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me.
Tamavishyacha bhutani darayami aham mojasa vishnami cha shuddhi sarvaha samabhutva rasatmakaha.
I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit, become the moon, and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables.
Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashitaha Pranapana Samayuktaha Pachami Annam Chaturvidam.
I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the four kinds of foodstuffs.
Sarvasya Chaham Ridisani Vishto Mata Hasmitir Janamako Hanam Cha Vedescha Sarve Rahameva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Vedeva Chaham.
I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known, indeed. I am the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Vovimo Purusho Loke Ksharaschakshara Evacha Sharaha Sarvani Bhutani Kutastok Uchyate.
There are two classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible. In the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible.
Utamaha Purushastva Anya Paramatmeti Udaritaha Yolokatrayam Avishya Vibhati Avyaya Ishvaraha.
Besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them.
Yomam evam samudo janati purushotamam sa sarva vedvajati mam sarva bhavena bharataha.
Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. Therefore engage himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata.
Iti guryatamam shastram idam uktam mayanaga etad buddha buddhi mam syat kritakrityascha bharataha.
This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one. It is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
Thank you very much, Sridham and Yash. That was very beautifully recited. It's always nice to hear you both chant together. We will now move on to our today's text, text 20, which is the last text of this beautiful chapter, Purushottam Yoga. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Are you all able to see the Veda page, or you're still seeing the old one?
Seeing the old one, Prabhuji.
Okay. Okay, here is the text 20 from the 15th chapter. Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam mayanagaha etad bhutva buddhiman sayat krita krityascha bharata. Translation. I will invite my daughter Sachi, who's just sat next to me, to read this translation for us. So Sachi, if you could read it loudly, please.
This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, a sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
Thank you, Sachi. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Lord clearly explains here that this is the substance of all the revealed scriptures, and one should understand this as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, one will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. In other words, by understanding this philosophy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engaging in his transcendental service, everyone can become freed from all contaminations of the modes of material nature. Devotional service is a process of spiritual understanding. Wherever devotional service exists, the material contamination cannot coexist. Devotional service to the Lord and the Lord himself are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is said to be the sun, and ignorance is called darkness. Where the sun is present, there is no question of darkness. Therefore, whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. Everyone must take to this consciousness of Krishna and engage in devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Unless one comes to this position of understanding Krishna and engages in devotional service, however intelligent he may be, in the estimation of some common men, he is not perfectly intelligent. The word anagaha, by which Arjuna is addressed, is significant. Anagaha, O sinless one, means that unless one is free from all sinful reactions, it is very difficult to understand Krishna. One has to become free from all contamination, all sinful activities, then he can understand. But devotional service is so pure and potent that once one is engaged in devotional service, he automatically comes to this stage of sinlessness. While one is performing devotional service in the association of pure devotees in full Krishna consciousness, there are certain things which require to be vanquished altogether. The most important thing one has to surmount is weakness of the heart. The first fall down is caused by the desire to lord it over material nature. Thus, one gives up the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The second weakness of the heart is that as one increases the propensity to lord it over the material nature, he becomes attached to the matter and the possession of matter. The problems of material existence are due to these weaknesses of the heart. In this chapter, the first 5 verses describe the process of freeing oneself from these weaknesses of heart. And the rest of the chapter, from the 6th verse through the end, discusses Purushottam Yoga. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 15th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of the Supreme Person. Now I could request all of you to unmute yourself and we can all clap because we have finished the chapter 15 chapter, all 20 verses. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Aye. So it is a very joyful occasion to finish one verse or one chapter of Srila Prabhupada books. I remember last year I was in Vrindavan at this time around Kartik, and my family and myself, every day we were traveling from Vrindavan to Govardhan in a very small car my parents have in Vrindavan where they live, to Govardhan to take association of my spiritual master and His Holiness Keshav Bharati Maharaj, who were reading Srimad Bhagavatam for 5 hours a day. This is their vrat for the last 19 years. They've been doing this in a very small room with 20 devotees, around 20 devotees crammed in together, and some sitting outside because there's not enough space in the room. They read 5 hours every day of Bhagavatam. And as they were reading, they would finish a chapter and everybody would like clap and applaud each other, for reaching the milestone. And my spiritual master was explaining that when they were reading the Krishna book, which was last year, when Krishna kills the Qualyapida, the elephant, and also later on Kamsa and other people in the wrestling arena, it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam and also in the Krishna book that every time the demon was killed, the devotees there in that place would get up and they will start clapping, So this clap thing is completely bona fide, just by the way. It's not something started by me. It's coming directly from Krishna book, from Srila Prabhupada's book. So we will start a little discussion on this particular beautiful verse. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Teshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I will share my slides with you all. Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Okay, so hopefully you all can see my screen now. Okay. So now we are in the last section of this chapter, section 5, where we are trying to know Krishna. And by knowing Krishna means knowing everything. There is nothing else to be known in the world for somebody who knows Krishna. And how, by one knowing Krishna's position, knows everything and he engages in Krishna's service or devotional service. And knowing this most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures makes one wise and brings perfection to his endeavors. So now we are concluding this beautiful chapter, 15th chapter. So what we will do is we will probably carry on some of the conversation of this chapter and a little bit of an overview tomorrow. We will cover, I think, overview from Sutapa Prabhu's that masterpiece he's put together. So we'll do that tomorrow evening. But let's see today if we don't finish the entire text, because there are some really nice points Srila Prabhupada is making in the purport. We can carry on our discussion tomorrow. And then we will come back to you as to what our plan will be. I'm hoping we will still continue to recite the chapter 15 till the 16th of this month, which is the last day of the month of Purushottam. After which we will go straight to 11th chapter to finish our remaining verses, and we will recite the remaining part of the 11th chapter. And then once that is finished, we'll go to the 12th chapter. So that's where we are. I also have a little announcement, a reminder from Santosh Mataji about the fact that they are putting together this rota for recitation. So if you wish to contact, I'm just going to bring it up. So Rajshri Mataji is organizing the recitation rota for the alternate, between her and Santosh Mataji, they are doing it on alternate basis. Rajshri Mataji is currently organizing the next month's rota. So if you would like to recite, her number is available on the chat group. So Rajshri Mataji, you can put it on the chat message now, and the devotees, they can reach out to you if they would like to recite the this beautiful next chapter as we go forward.
Okay, Prabhuji, I will do that. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So now we will embark on the journey of this particular verse of the theme. So this verse summarizes the chapter 15, which is knowledge explained in this chapter is the essence of Vedanta and the most confidential part or substance of the Vedas. So imagine what a fortune we have to be able to come to a point. There are so many kinds of knowledges available in the world. Just take a moment and think about it. There is knowledge about art, knowledge about music, knowledge about chemistry, knowledge about science, knowledge about the Vedas, knowledge about so many things. And of all the knowledges put together, there is still there is a bit of a confidential, then there is more confidential, then there is the most confidential. So now here in the Bhagavad Gita, after speaking till 15 chapters, Krishna has revealed the most confidential knowledge thus far. So we are really fortunate to be able to come to such junction of our life where we have access to this confidential knowledge, because the Shastra explained by having access to the confidential knowledge, there is every opportunity for a human to make his or her life perfect and go back to the spiritual world where one belongs actually. Whereas in the other forms of life, one certainly has some degree of intellect, but it is very much based on our immediate instinct. Like if I'm hungry, I'll quickly eat this. If I'm this, so that is very much available in the animal species of life. Whereas the human life has this special prerogative where our intelligence is slightly refined in the senses that we can, if we want to, control our senses and choose very deliberately where we would like to be, where we would like to eat, where we would like to sing, where we would like to dance, and who do we like to associate with. So in that sense, we are really fortunate because we now have access of this wonderful knowledge from Bhagavad Gita through which we can perfect our life. And the perfection of life will come when we attain a qualification where our life becomes sinless. And that's what this verse is emphasizing right at the outset. Srila Prabhupada writing in the purport saying that this knowledge will help us become sinless. And we will see from the practical application of this text to 20 that to understand Lord Purushottam or the Purushottam Yoga, we have to be sinless. Thus, this chapter discusses breaking our material attachment and understanding Krishna as the source of Brahman, as the maintainer, the Paramatma, and as Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Finally, knowing all this, one surrenders and becomes one with him in desire and service. That is the conclusion of all the Shastra, the yoga of the Supreme Person. This is what Prabhupada is saying. So what is it? That once we know, we surrender and we become one with him in desire and the service, that my Lord, you are the Lord Purushottam. I'm your insignificant servant of the servant, 1 million times removed. And I have some desire to serve you, my Lord. And through the spiritual master, through the Shastra, you're telling us what is the best way to worship you. So now let me be engaged in your service for life after life. I do not desire anything. Mahaprabhu is saying, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, nam kavitam, na jagadish kamaye, mame janmare janmaneshware, bhaktar bhaktir ahitu ki tvai. Mahaprabhu is saying, I do not desire wealth. I do not desire many, many men to follow me, nor do I desire a beautiful wife. My Lord, I only desire your ahituki bhakti, your pure devotional service, birth after birth after birth. So, if we develop that desire, then we are able to serve the Lord. And through that service, we will always be connected with the Lord. Srila Prabhupada said one time when his disciple wrote to him that, Prabhupada, I'm feeling separation from you. Guru Maharaj, I'm feeling separation from you. And Prabhupada writes back, there is no need. Well, actually, Prabhupada does admit, he said, yes, the separation is there, but I am chanting here and you are chanting there. And through this chanting, we are always connected. So the principle of being connected by the instructions of the spiritual master is a much higher principle than to be connected on the physical level in his proximity, actually. So one who is a sincere disciple, he hears from spiritual master. Of course, if one is fortunate, there is nothing like to be able to serve personally the spiritual master. And then you engage in the service of the Lord. So now there are 5 aspects to this purport. Let's see if we can discuss the first 3 aspects at least today. So first point is how to understand this knowledge. Prabhupada is saying, or Krishna is saying, understand as it is given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the word? Why do you think, let me ask you a question here. Why do you think Prabhupada wrote this word as it is, and he's so much emphasized in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita in a very, very clear way that why Prabhupada called this edition Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Because,
No adulteration.
it was spoken by Krishna.
No, because it is
Because
added
it is-
from parampara without making any changes in it.
It is coming in disciplic succession from all the previous acharyas as it is spoken by Krishna. He did not add anything himself.
Yes.
It is translated exactly as Lord Krishna himself spoke in Arjuna 4,000 years ago.
Correct. So Srila Prabhupada writes this in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita that there are more than 300 commentaries available of Bhagavad Gita today. And of those 300 commentaries, if not majority, all of them have some degree to other, they have personally motivated interpretations of people who are writing this text or the commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So what does Prabhupada mean by that is that Prabhupada gives an example elsewhere. He says, when Krishna is saying, Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarva pape bhyo moksha shami masuchaha. When Krishna is saying, surrender unto me, some writer who's giving the commentary on Bhagavad Gita is saying there's no need to surrender to Krishna. We have to surrender to somebody who's within. So that is fine, Paramatma level, but Krishna is being personal. He's saying you surrender to me personally. I am a person. And he's requesting us, asking us, instructing us to surrender to a person. So that's one point. The second point is what Divya Gaurangi Mataji mentioned. Because this science was originally spoken by Lord Krishna to son Vivashwan, or the presiding deity of the sun, in the millions and millions of years ago. And since then, this knowledge is coming in a disciplic succession. And Prabhupada is presenting the same knowledge as it is without any adulteration, as one Mataji used the word adulteration. So the knowledge or the words of the Lord are still carrying the potencies. And that's why Srila Prabhupada once he wrote to his disciple that if you want to know about me, read my books. I have given everything in my books. So much so that by reading my books, you will be sufficiently self-realized and to be able to go back to the spiritual world. So hence, Srila Prabhupada used this word as it is because there are no personally motivated interpretation. Prabhupada broke down each word of Sanskrit from word to word translation and then from translation to purport. That is why I feel even more fortunate, and I'm sure you all feel more fortunate that not only we have access to this knowledge, but to imagine to have that responsibility to be able to disseminate the same as it is edition in thousands and thousands and thousands and put it out in the society. Imagine how glorious that service you all are going to be performing, which you're already doing, and you're going to be doing more as we get closer into this 3 months period where we are trying to distribute at least 35,000 Bhagavad Gitas. Because there are all these commentaries, and a lot of times when you approach people, especially now when you start calling your friends and say, do you have Bhagavad Gita? Don't ask them the question, do you have Bhagavad Gita? Ask them, how are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? And ask them, have you heard of Bhagavad Gita? They will say, yes, I've heard of Bhagavad Gita. I have Bhagavad Gita. Then ask them, would you mind please having a look while we are on Zoom or on the phone, which edition of Bhagavad Gita you have? Who's the commentator of that Bhagavad Gita? So Prabhupada, in a morning walk, he used to go out with his disciples on many, many times. With his, he would walk up and down. And Prabhupada would often ask this question, what are they saying? That was Prabhupada's favorite question on the morning walk, because he was always interested in knowing what people are saying after either reading my books or what people are saying otherwise, like the scientists. So Prabhupada could immediately refute their statements based on Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So hence, because these so many editions are there, people have different conceptions and different ideas. And when you give somebody a Bhagavad Gita as it is, they will get the message as it is. Even if they do not pick up immediately, there are stories when, like I'll share a little story on this note and we'll move on from there. One time, one elderly person took a Bhagavad Gita in his family and he left it on the bookshelf. And then that elderly person, after some time, passed away. Then his son, who was living there, he read many things but never got around to pick up the Bhagavad Gita. But his son, the grandson of that elderly person who passed away, he went into depression and he had no idea what to do in life. And one day he picked up this book from the shelf of his grandfather, called Bhagavad Gita as it is. And as he began to read one page after another, he got such clarity actually. And today that person, I can't remember the personality name, but he's a wonderful disciple or grand disciple of Srila Prabhupada in our movement actually, and performing devotional service so nicely. So we definitely cannot underestimate the power of Srila Prabhupada books. They will act. We may think, okay, Prabhu, what's the point? We are sending to jail. How many inmates are going to read? That's not our job. Even Nityananda Prabhu, when he was trying to distribute this knowledge, he was not able to judge. He couldn't judge whether who's fit and who's not fit. They were giving this to everybody. So our responsibility is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, Amara Agya se you become Guru. You take my Agya instruction and become a Guru. Chare dekhe tare kahe Krishna Upades. You give this knowledge to everybody. And do not worry only thing we have to do is, we know from Shastra that if somebody is not very conducive or being offensive, we don't need to give it to them. We just walk away and go to the next person. We need to find the ripe fruits. That's the main thing. But we cannot judge until we introduce this Bhagavad Gita to others. So that is the point about having the Bhagavad Gita as it is. The next point from the purport is the result. One will become intelligent and perfect in transcendental knowledge. He'll be freed from all contamination from material modes. And devotional service and the Lord are one and the same because they are spiritual. Devotional service takes place within the internal energy of the Lord. What a beautiful point Prabhupada is making. And it is explained in the Bhagavatam in many places that this devotional service, bhakti, is coming from the Haladini Shakti, which is the internal potency of the Lord, which is none other than Srimati Radharani. So this bhakti is, when we engage in this process, we are directly engaging in the service of Srimati Radharani, who's none other than the most supreme blissful energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is all attractive. He attracts us. But Srimati Radharani is one who even attracts Krishna. So that's why she's called Sarva. I'm not able to remember the word, but she's one who even attracts Krishna. Mohan Mohini.
Madan Mohan Mohini.
That's right. Thank you, Mataji. So she even attracts Krishna. So similarly, the devotional service of the Lord will not only attract the attention of Srimati Radharani, it will attract the attention of Krishna. Prabhupada said one time that if Srimati Radharani is pleased with your devotion, she goes to Krishna and says, let's see who's on the chat today. We have few devotees here. So there is Bharat Prabhu here. So she will go to Bharat Prabhu and Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu and say, okay, my dear Nath, my dear Krishna, today I've come to you to tell you that your wonderful devotee Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu and Bharat Prabhu are practicing devotional service with a lot of intensity. So please, at the end of this life, bring them back and engage them in your eternal service. They are hankering for it. And the Krishna says, even I'm hankering for them, because that's what the Lord is waiting for. So he wants to have us back. His desire to have us back is more stronger than our desire, because our desire is right now, we want to put one leg towards the spiritual world, but we have our other leg, which is in the back of our so many desires, and which is pulling us away. Oh, let me watch a little bit of this. Let me watch a little bit of that. Let me enjoy a little bit of this. And that's fine. Krishna is there. He's desiring. He will keep desiring. I'll come to him one day. Well, that may take much, much longer. And imagine how much we have to suffer. So then the analogy is given in the purport that Lord is like sun and ignorance is like darkness. So wherever there is sun, there is no question of darkness. So the conclusion Prabhupada gives is whenever devotional service is present under the proper guidance of a proper, service is present under the proper guidance of a proper spiritual master, there is no question of ignorance. So when we take shelter of our spiritual master and try to serve him, tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvatarshina. That spiritual master will reveal the truth to us by our submissive attitude to serve and inquire from him and surrender unto him. So let's have a look what happens to the result of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 5.24.19 that the real result of devotional service is the awakening of the pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which continues under all circumstances. Anandam Buddhivardhanam. This Anandam is not a temporary one that, oh, I got the, like, let's say if I'm attached to iPhone 11 Pro, I got the 11 Pro and it's a beautiful camera. I take some pictures, the pictures are beautiful. Unless I'm taking the pictures of Radha Gokulananda, devotees, it's all blissful, it's all perfection of the material engagement. But if I'm so attracted and then my desire is now fulfilled, I'm no longer getting the same relish I was getting when my iPhone 11 Pro was new. But in the case of the spiritual world, you see Yashoda Maya here, she's in complete bliss all the time. All the gopas who are looking from the door or the little window or the big window from the other side, they're always, their degree of enthusiasm never drops, never even for a little bit. They're always anxious to share their lunch with Krishna. They're always anxious to go to the beautiful forest of Vrindavan with the cowherd boys and frolic with Lord and in a very intimate pastime and have the best time every single day. Their enthusiasm when they get up is the same every morning. They don't want to do anything until they have peeped their head into the window and seen the Supreme Lord Krishna, although they don't even know he's the Supreme Lord. So imagine their level of enthusiasm. That's the kind of enthusiasm we need to follow in the footsteps of the Brajavasis. That's why our acharyas are telling us, let's develop the same mood of these gopas, these gopis who are worshipping the Lord in such beautiful way. And what will be the result of that? The result will be, we will continue to relish this devotional service even in this particular material body while we are in this world actually. And let's see what happens to us. The further result as it is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangas sajayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by the contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So look at so many things that what is happening? First of all, our mind becomes enlivened by evam prasanna manaso. By engaging in the bhakti yoga, our mind becomes completely enlivened. My mind is not enlivened when I'm sitting in front of the laptop when writing my standard operating procedures for my work day and night, which is my job currently. It is definitely not enlivened. I can tell you that right now. But the moment I'm able to engage in some service of the Lord or read Srimad Bhagavatam or chant a little bit sincerely sometimes, then immediately my mind becomes enlivened. And then what happens? By contact with devotional service to the Lord, I gain positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead. Not just knowledge, positive scientific. Look at the word positive scientific knowledge that the Lord is a person. I'm having an exchange with Him. And through that exchange, even a simplest exchange like Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayashati Tat Aham Bhakti Uparitam Ashnami Praya Tat Manah. Just by giving a little water, just by giving a little leaf, just by offering what I'm trying to eat to the Lord, just by that sweet exchange, I'm engaging in a positive scientific exchange with the Lord, through which my heart is becoming even more purified. So this principle of offering bhoga to the Lord is very, very important. That whatever we eat, somehow or other, we should offer it to the Lord. And what does the Lord tells? He tells us that He likes patram pushpam from that category. Prabhupada writes in the purport, if Krishna would have liked meat or onion and garlic, He would have told us about it. But He further explains in the modes of material nature that He likes food which is juicy, which is wholesome, which is fresh. That's the mood in Sattva Gun. He doesn't like food which is pungent, which is spicy, which is, that's the food in Rajagun. He doesn't like food which is been there for many days or which is very, very spicy or which is, extremely fried and things like that. That is in mode of ignorance, or meat for that matter. So that Krishna is giving us the guidance, and just by exchanging we will get positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Let me just have a quick sense check of the time. It's 8:30. We will cover this last part, and then we will cover the other two parts from the purport, which are really nice. Let me give you the glimpse of those. Let's see if we can cover this first. So the third practical application is that everyone must take to Krishna consciousness and devotional service to become intelligent and purified. Prabhupada is writing it in the purport. That is why I like picking up these points from Srila Prabhupada purport and bring it for my own purification and remind myself that how fallen I am. And Prabhupada is breaking it down so wonderfully through his ecstasies in the form of purport. So he's saying intelligence, however high in the material estimation, without this understanding, it's not the perfect intelligence. Until and unless we understand that by serving Krishna or engaging in devotional service, evam prasanna manaso, our mind will not be enlivened and our intelligence will not be purified. There is no point, even if we are very, very high in material estimation. Even if I am very rich, I have a beauty. Let's see what Kunti Devi is saying in her prayers. She's saying, Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribhir Ebhana Edhana Madha Puman Nevarati Abhidautam Vai Twam Akinchana Gocharam. She's saying, my Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So she's clearly telling us that one thing is to understand there's nothing wrong in having, but look at this third line very carefully in the translation. Let me read it for you again, the third line. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage. The line is trying to improve. If we are trying to improve our material position in the world, it isn't going to happen in the sense of we learn from the scriptures that whatever is destined, we are supposed to have as far as our material opulence, our wealth, our beauty, our frame, it's already destined. We are going to get that. But we should not become what Rupa Goswami is saying, Atyahara Prayashascha Prajalpa Niyamagra. We should not over endeavor in these, especially in these cases, Kunti Maharani is reminding us, we should just accept in the Ishopanishad, in the first verse, it is explained that I'm not able to remember the verse right now, but in the invocation prayer, it is mentioned that one should accept his quota, which has been set aside for himself. But if we try to expand our material desires, then unfortunately our mind will never be enlivened. We will not be able to become akinchana gocharan. We will not be able to pray to the Lord with the sincere feelings. So these are the other two aspects which we will go tomorrow. Importance of the word anaga, which Prabhupada emphasizes in the purport. And we will touch base on that from the Nectar of Instruction, Srila Prabhupada purport in the first verse. And then the most important thing one should sum out during practice of devotional service. So these 2 points we shall cover tomorrow and conclude the chapter 15. Until then, I would like to now open up to all of you for any comments, any questions, any reflections. Obviously, I want to remind you all, I don't want to sound like a tape record about the Bhagavad Gita campaign. My only humble request to all of you is that I know myself, Vrindavan Chand Prabhu, Mukunda Hari Prabhu, and few other devotees now coming, like, we have Madhu Kumari Mataji coming, Keshav Prabhu. We are doing this for our self-purification. That's the first and foremost thing, this service. But the second thing I want to say is that I want to humbly request you that every day try to reach out to somebody with this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita who doesn't have one. Because that is the best service you can do to please Prabhupada. Because I'm sure you all want to please Prabhupada, especially in the current situation where people are suffering, their jobs are going. So even if they pay you some donation for the Bhagavad Gita, or you give them as a gift after you sponsor them, that's the best gift you can give it to the people. In fact, I always try to keep a box of Bhagavad Gita in my home, some in my car. So whenever there is an opportunity, I meet somebody, I can give them. So if you don't have a box of Bhagavad Gita, take a box and keep it in your home at all the times. So when you're, like my Guru Maharaj says that when somebody invites him for prasadam at their home, normally, people invite, but Maharaj says, I normally put a condition that, okay, I will come, but my condition will be that myself and your family together, we will chant a chapter of Bhagavad Gita together. And if you are happy with that request, I will definitely like to come to your home. So similarly, it's a great way to have these books available, because we don't know who's going to knock our door from Amazon. We don't know who's going to come into our house, our friend who does not have a Bhagavad Gita. So it's a great idea to have these books available. So please take part in this campaign and help Srila Prabhupada in expanding this wonderful labor of work or labor of love in form of Bhagavad Gita. So let's have any reflection, comments, or questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
As I live in South London and we support the South London, ISKCON South London.
Wonderful.
We are helping them.
Amazing, Mataji. Please, I know I'm in touch with Anjali Mataji. She's there.
Anjali and
please work with her. And I think Adri Prabhu, they're wonderful devotees. They have taken a vow. They're a small temple. Even in this current situation, they said we're going to try to distribute at least 3,000 Gitas, towards the 50,000 goal.
That's what our aim is. Yeah, that's what
wonderful.
Our aim is.
Great, Vishalini Mataji.
And,
amazing.
We are doing 30 books already to a hospital. 4 years ago, I went and I gave them 60 books. This time they've asked for only 30. But that's the reason I won't be with you devotees. I will be with, I'll be with ISKCON South London.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much. I have some reflections here, which I would like to read, and then if anybody has any questions. So Jyoti Mataji is saying, thank you, Prabhuji, for a very enlightening session today. Thank you to Sri Ram and Yash. Wonderful session from Puja Mataji. Thank you, Puja Mataji. And then I have Hema Mataji, who's also giving us some shiksha from Kapila Dev, sharing some instructions. Therefore, I do not find a greater person than he who has no interest outside of mine, and who therefore engages in and dedicates all his activities and all his life, everything unto me without cessation. Yes. So that's the teaching of Lord Kapila to his mother Devahuti, that there is nobody, more dear. If you serve me, obviously Lord Kapila Dev is none other than the incarnation of Lord Krishna. And he's telling her, do not have any other interest besides me. And that way you'll always be happy and blissful. Thank you, Hema Mataji. Very wonderful and relevant instruction for today's session. Rita Mataji, thank you, Prabhuji, for the class. Thank you, Mataji. Bhagwati Mataji, thank you, Mataji, for your encouragement. Rajshri Mataji is saying, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you for the nice class. Thank you, Mataji. Any other comments or any reflection, anything which stuck in your mind from the session today, which you can take it back? Would like to reflect back, anyone?
Prabhuji, regarding the devotional service being the same as the Lord, you said.
Yes, Mataji.
There was a really nice thing that when the Kumaras visited the Vaikuntha, the Lord says that the relationship of the Lord and devotee is transcendently beautiful. A devotee thinks that it is due to being a devotee, he is elevated to all good qualities. And the Lord thinks that it is because of his devotion to servitor that all his transcendental glories have increased. I thought that was so beautiful, that the reciprocation between the Lord and the devotee is just so beautiful.
Yeah,
one
that
thinks
is so
because
nice.
of the other that he is elevated, and the other things because of the devotion that he's elevated. So
Definitely. Yeah, that is so true, Mataji. Yeah, that's the sweetest exchange. Lord can't live without his devotees. Even though Jay and Vijay were cursed by the Kumaras, but the Lord knew, being a super soul in their heart, he said, don't worry, I'll call you back like this. In 3 lives, we'll be back again here. You can serve me. But for those 3 lives, I'll also come with you. And now I have a desire to fight. So you fulfill that desire. So even then, he engaged Jay and Vijay directly in his service, by giving that spirit of challenge to the Lord so the Lord can fight. These are the beautiful, Achintya Bheda, beautiful pastimes of the Lord, which we can't conceive. But the Lord has his plans. We have our plans, but ultimately it's Lord's plan which overtakes everything. So thank you so much.
wonderful.
Krishnamani
Thanks,
Mataji is saying, I'm so
Devotion.
happy.
Oh, it's me saying now. Devotional
Yes.
service is a process of spiritual understanding. That's what I like. And whenever the spiritual master is there, there is no chance of ignorance.
Yes.
So if you are doing devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, there is no place for ignorance.
Yes, Mataji, that is true. That is so true. Yeah, when we are under the shelter of spiritual master, and what does it mean to be under the shelter of spiritual master? It means to follow the instructions of the spiritual master.
And very sincerely.
Yes, and when we are following those instructions, then no matter who comes in between, the empowerment will flow without a shadow of doubt. Krishnavani Mataji is saying, I'm so happy to see how beautifully you all are involving the young children in recitation. They are doing wonderful job. So sweet to hear young Sachis reading. And thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful session and teachings. I really, a wonderful display of books behind you. Thank you, Mataji. I thought I had a very different, whatever was on the Apple screen, I chose that, but I thought, let me at least have a display behind me so I can keep looking at these books and one day start to read Srila Prabhupada's books with more sincerity, with even a tiny bit of a sincerity what Prabhupada had against, how much sincerely he wrote these books and with such urgency actually. So thank you for noticing that, Krishnamani Mataji. Any other comments from anyone? Is there anybody here who's tuning in for the first time or new to the session, would like to at least introduce yourself? Sorry, we haven't really been continuing our introduction sessions. We may need to bring it back at some stage. We will. I can see my sister is dialing in from Toronto, from Canada. Thank you, Tripta, for joining in. And anyone else who's joined us for the first time or new to this programs? One request I have, if somebody can help me, it'll be a wonderful service. We are looking for someone who could help us with social media. We are now ready to launch our new website, and we would like to create a Facebook page and Instagram page for that website of Prabhupada, and invite senior leaders in ISKCON to give us talks, short talks on each book of Prabhupada, especially starting with Bhagavad Gita. So we want to do a lot of promotion on social media because that's where the world lives today. And Prabhupada said, if we can use all the wonderful technical arrangement of the material energy, that's the perfection of that. So if you have a son who's interested into social media or has done like worked in that and can help us with this service, if you can please get in touch with me, that would be really nice. Most of you have my number anyway from the WhatsApp group, or you can mention it in the chat box. Any one of you could help us with social media, that'll be a great help, because we really want to take the social media to the next stage now by trying to distribute Prabhupada books. Any other last comments? We have a couple of minutes before we conclude. Okay, if no one has any comments, then perhaps we can call it an evening. And then I look forward to seeing you all, same place, same time, on Zoom, where we will conclude our text 20. And hopefully I'll share the plan with all of you for the next few verses. I mean, we will recite the 15th chapter, but what we will be discussing, I'll come back to you on that one. Until then, I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhevdvacha patitanam pavnebhyo.
Vaishnavebhyo namo
Thank
namo.
you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Love
Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Prabhupada
Krishna.
ki jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
It's a beautiful
Hare
class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. It was
Hare
lovely.
Krishna. Thank you. Haribol.
Thank you.
Hare
Haribol.
Bol.
Thank
Hare
you.